Having a hard time standing in front of many people, especially if you're going to open your mouth and speak in front of them? Well, worry no more because our subject will help you a lot. Our goal here is to provide building blocks that will inspire your confidence to speak in public setting. Hello everyone! I hope you are all excited and doing well. Welcome to our online classroom, and this is Oral Communication in Context class. I will be handling this subject with the following students. Introduce to you my fellow teachers who will be handling the same subject with other sections. And let me start our week by discussing the first module, which includes the nature, the process, and the functions of communication.
And let's get started. Can you imagine yourself in a world without communication? You would not be able to get your ideas across, and you would not be able to take in ideas from others. Possessing effective communication skills can really improve one's life, as it would allow others and yourself to understand information accurately and quickly. In contrast, having poor communication skills would lead you to frequent misunderstandings and frustrations. Therefore, it is very important to have clear understanding of its nature, the process, and its functions, as it helps achieve successful communication. According to Weber, as cited by Dapat et al., 70% of the person's waking time is spent communicating in different manners, like talking, listening, reading, and writing. Sipasio and Balgos cited from the work of McCornack that communication is a process of sharing and conveying messages or information from one person to another within and across channel, context, media, and cultures. There is a wide variety of contexts and situations in which communication can be manifested. It can be a face-to-face interaction, a phone conversation, a group discussion, a meeting or interview, a letter correspondence, a class recitation, and many others. Communication is not just the mere transfer of messages from one person to another, just like a balikbayan box being delivered to one's doorsteps. It involves a speaker imparting ideas, concepts, and data to a group of listeners, or what we call the audience. Now, let's get to know the nature of communication. First, communication is a process. Any communication involves a transaction. A person wants to talk to someone about something because that person needs something from that someone. Second, communication occurs between two or more people, the speaker and the receiver. And always remember that communication comes about when the message is imparted as information. At the minimum, two persons are involved in the process: the one who delivers the message and the one who receives and understands the message. And the conversation continues as the speaker and the receiver exchange roles. And third, communication can be expressed through written or spoken words, actions, or nonverbal, or both spoken words and nonverbal at the same time. By the way, nonverbal communication class is the transmission of messages or signals through a nonverbal platform such as eye contact, facial expressions, gestures, posture, and the distance between two individuals. Communication can be seen as a complex process having several elements, and that's what we're going to talk about now, the elements of communication. And the first element is the speaker, the source of information or message. It is the speaker who chooses his or her purpose, crafts the message accordingly, and decides how to deliver it. such as when a president delivers his State of the Nation address. The second element is the message, the information, ideas, or thoughts conveyed by the speaker in words or in actions. This is the central to the process because the point of communicating is to say something. Third is encoding, the process of converting the message into words, actions, or other forms that the speaker understands. It is referred to as transforming an abstract idea into a communicable message. This is done using words, symbols, pictures, and sounds. Fourth is the channel, the medium or the means such as personal or non-personal, verbal or non-verbal, in which the encoded message is conveyed, and refers to the medium that carries the message from the sender to the receiver. Basically, there are 5 channels. We have ears, eyes, skin, mouth, and nose. In other words, the message is sent and received via senses. Of course, messages are first received through the ears by hearing, while gestures and facial expressions are received by the eyes through seeing. The skin, mouth, and nose are not the main pathways for sending a message, but they are still crucial in the imparting and receiving of the messages. In marketing and promotions, the message channel may be television, radio, newspapers, or salespersons. Next is decoding, the process of interpreting the encoded message of the speaker by the receiver. It is when the receiver interprets the message and coming to an understanding about what the source is communicating. In promotions, an example of this would be a consumer viewing a commercial and coming to an understanding about what the product is all about. Receiver, the recipient of the message or someone who decodes the message. In other books, they are called as listener. It is said that even if the speaker is great and the message is beautiful, if there is no listener or the listener is not paying attention, the communication fails. It is the listener who makes sense of what is being said and reacts to it by clapping, nodding the head, replying, asking a return question, following the speaker, falling asleep sometimes, or walking out. The seventh element is the feedback, the reaction, response, or information provided by the receiver. The speaker needs to watch out for this response to know if the message was effectively imparted or not. Making sure of what the feedback is will help the speaker in continuing with the next message. Next is context, the environment where communication takes place. Other books use the term communicative situation. It is said that it has 2 components, the physical location and the psychological setting. The physical location is usually chosen for the purpose of it will serve. A classroom can be used for a meeting, an auditorium can be transformed into a theater for a play, and the streets that serve as the setting for rallies, and the psychological setting depends on the participants. Last is the barrier, the factor that affects the flow of communication. Other references are using the word noise. It could be a physical noise, which means the actual noise such as loud music or the irritating engine of a motorcycle. Even a seatmate who talks to you while the teacher is explaining the lesson is noise because it prevents you from listening to the teacher. The second type of noise is physiological, when the body becomes a hindrance to a good communication. For example, because of a headache or toothache, one may not be able to effectively listen to a friend, listen to music, or do anything for that matter. The third type is the psychological noise, which occurs when one is thinking deeply about something or is suffering from an emotional condition such as sadness, depression, confusion, which discourages participation in a communication situation. Moving forward, it is better to understand the process of communication because you will be able to better communicate your personal and professional life. To better understand the process, study and analyze the illustration below. This is how communication process takes place. First, the speaker generates an idea. Then, the speaker encodes an idea or converts the idea into words or action. After that, the speaker will now transmit or send out a message, and the receiver will receive it or get it. Then, the receiver decodes or interprets the message based on the context or based on his or her communicative situation. Then, the receiver sends or provides feedback, and the process goes on and on as the conversation continues. Always remember that communication is stirring up ideas in the mind of another. It is the sharing of ideas among a group of people. It is imparting concepts to an audience, and according to Monroe, it is sharing of experiences publicly for the common good. Being able to communicate is almost as important as breathing. People do not just communicate because they love to talk. They communicate for several reasons. For successful communication, it is important to have a clear purpose in mind, and that is called the functions of communication. If the purpose of the speaker is to control others by managing their behavior, then the speaker is using the function of control and regulation because he or she is controlling or regulating the behavior or directing others. Words are usually directives in a form of order or requests, and the tone and bodily actions are authoritative and firm. Example, the teacher reads and discusses classroom policies to her students. Another example is making an announcement that the community will start segregating their garbage. This function also demonstrated by the simple act of telling someone to be quiet or encouraging someone to continue discussing the topic. The second function is social interaction, the most familiar and the primary reason why people communicate: to interact with others and be connected with other people. Words are mostly informal and the tone is friendly, even teasing sometimes, and bodily action is relaxed. Example, Rose greets Rachel, then they started talking about their high school memories. This is because people do love to talk and love to talk with each other. Conversation with one another gives people involved pleasure while passing the time in an entertaining way. Motivation. It is the third function of communication. This is when the speaker's purpose is to persuade or try to persuade another person to change his or her opinion, attitude, or behavior. It is used to motivate or encourage others to live better. Words are more direct and purposeful. Gestures are emphatic. Tone of voice is forceful, and with direct eye contact to underscore speaker's sincerity and conviction. Example, Lisa shares her insights on how to live peacefully despite a complicated life. The fourth function is emotional expression. The speaker appeals to the listener's feelings and emotions to encourage him or her to act in a particular direction. It is used to express feelings and emotions. Words are carefully chosen, and some non-verbal cues like touching, hand-holding, or hugging, putting an arm around someone's shoulders are evident. Example of this, Rika shares her personal frustrations to her friend Kathy. And finally, the last function is information dissemination. This function is used when the speaker wants to make others aware of certain data, concepts, and processes, knowledge that may be useful to them, or simply to convey information. Words like po and opo are used especially in a Philippine setting. simple words for children, not using too much jargon, actual demonstration, and showing pictures or videos. Example of this, the teacher lectures about math concepts. And we are done. I hope everything is set. Now, it's time to review your notes and prepare for a quiz in Google Form. The link will be posted in our chat rooms. Keep updated, everyone. Let's call it a day. Thank you. God bless. Be safe.